So we're going to start this video with something that's not one of those tools on the bar because we got to have something to modify. So we're going to create our first 3D object. You're going to come to this drop down, say create, polygon primitives. We're going to choose a cube. Your cube might look small, so you can modify it by simply just hitting the R key on your keyboard. That'll bring this up. You can roll your mouse over this little yellow box and you'll scale it up. We're going to cover these standard tools W, E, and R later in another video. But again, let's practice looking around here. We're going to hold Alt and left click and move around, rotate the cube. We're going to right click while holding Alt and zoom. And we're going to middle click and pan it around. Just get used to using these simple buttons. All right, so now that we have a cube on the screen, we can go ahead. If we want to switch to a selection mode, you hit the Q key. So Q, W, E, and R are going to be something we're going to move in and out of often. So if you're in the Q mode, right, selection, you can combine this cube. Now, we would need 2 cubes in order to combine. It says you need at least 2 polygon objects. So if we left click this cube and press Control D, that's going to duplicate it. Now you may not see it because they're stacked on top of each other, but you can see here in this outliner there are 2. We're going to W. I want to grab one of these arrows and just move it aside. And now you've got 2 cubes. So you can click on one cube, click on the other. You'll move between selections. Left, 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 left click, right? If we hold Shift, we can select 2 of them. And we're going to hit the combine button. Now they are 1 cube. Ignore this, what's going on over here. I'm going to explain that when we get over to history. But now they're 1 cube. I'm going to teach you the second tool in the same window because they relate to each other. We need to separate these 2 cubes. I no longer want them to be one object. So we'll click it, select it, and hit separate. And that's going to make 2 cubes. Now, something you may have noticed, the pivot changed. That's the name of this right here. So we're going to go ahead and select both these and hit delete. And I'm going to go over here and do create polygon primitives cube. Again, notice that my cube starts in the middle of the scene. And then if I were to go to W mode and I were to press Control D, I can pull it aside and notice that its pivot is at the center of the cube. So if we were to select these 2 and I were to combine them, notice the pivot goes to the center of the 2 objects. And then if I were to separate it, it doesn't go back to the center of the 2 objects. What it's going to do is it's going to put at the origin or 0, 0, 0 on the grid. So we'd hit separate and it brings it to 0, 0. Just to see another example of that, again, if I move both these aside here, right, and they both have that original origin, and I were to combine them, it'll bring it to the center of the 2, and I were to hit separate, it brings it back to 0, 0. So then now, I'd have to move it from over here, here, and that's kind of weird, right? In the next video, we're going to cover one of these tools down here at the end called center pivot. Great. See you in the next video.